Is it slop or is it not? That's what we're finding out today. Cage the Elephant, are they slop or not? You might be saying, Connor, why did I click on this video? Do I hate you? Do I love you? And I'm going to tell you right now. What we're going over is what is slop. To determine if Cage the Elephant are in fact slop or not, we must go over what is slop, how to detect slop, how much of something is slop, are Cage the Elephant even talented, and finally, if they are Slop or not? We're going to find out today on Slop or Not. Okay, so let's take a look. So, what is a genre? What is slop? The way we look is at the music matrix. This is our slop line. This is the indicator of slop. This is catchiness, 1 through 10, and this is energy, 0 through 11. And if your song tends to not be higher than a 7, in terms of catchiness, people tend to call it slop, right? So when people say, oh, I hate pop music, I hate whatever genre, they mean the genre when it's below a 7 in catchiness. Because genre tends to be correlated with energy level. Anything that's sufficiently high, 8 to 7, tends to get called metal, right? Either the bands call themselves metal, the fans call it metal, whatever, right? And same with punk tends to be about right here. And then you tend to see grunge about 4 to 7. And then you tend to see indie, jazz, blues, country, classical music. Everything else is in this 1 to 5 range in terms of intensity and or energy, perceived and or physical. Physical, I mean if you actually looked at the audio file and said how dense is the energy compared to other things, combined with psychologically things that are more jarring, might have more energy. Things that groove harder might give more energy to the listener psychologically, though physically it might have the same energy level. So that is kind of the basis. So things below the 7 line, tend to be called slop, right? And then things get past the 7 line when they go from metal, but they get catchy enough, they just get called rock, and or they're still called metal, right? Think Black Sabbath with I Am Iron Man, which might be like an 8 on energy, but it's like a 9 on catchiness. I might put it a little lower. I might actually put it at 7, but still it ends up getting called rock, though the band is metal, right? Okay, so let's take a look for Cage the Elephant. So this is how to actually do a song. So how do you call a band? So that is what slop is. How do we detect slop? How do we detect a lack of catchiness? Lack of catchiness seems to be detectable primarily through one main mechanism. That is, in fact, predictability. You can look and say many things go into making something catchy, but usually you can tell if something is definitely not catchy by looking at how, on average, predictable it is. If it's completely incoherent, it's not going to be good. It's going to be slop. It's not going to be catchy. If it's completely corny, it's not going to be good. It's going to be slop. It's not going to be catchy. It's going to be slop. This is catchiness up here. This is the slop zone. I called it duds, same thing, synonymous words. Now, right here is the money zone. Just because you get in the money zone and you're not in the slop zones doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to have non-slop. You can still get slop even though if you balance zaniness and perfect balance and you match everything together like Welcome to the Jungle. But that doesn't mean you still can't be slop. So if we think of a Cage the Elephant song off of the second album, if we think about 2024, that tends to be, I like that song, but some people, I'd probably put that in the deep cut zone. Even though it's pretty balanced, it tends to be in the deep cut zone. Even though it's in the money zone, it actually in quality turns to be a deep cut. It's not slop, but it's still not going to be a hit or a smash hit. So now let's look at where Cage the Elephant in particular actually line up. How do we know how much of Cage the Elephant is slop? Because different people have different cutoffs, right? So you could say, if you're just comparing the best song, you could say Britney Spears rocks harder than Black Sabbath because I think Toxic by Britney Spears rocks harder than Black Sabbath. But as an artist, you would probably say that Black Sabbath rocks harder than Britney Spears. So this is where you get to the question of their catalog. So that's what we're looking here, not Cadillac. You didn't hear that right. It's catalog. So if we look here, we can see this is an example of a classic catalog. This is the distribution of how much relative. What is the quantity of slop, B-sides, and hits, right, in terms of quality? Now, some songs maybe hit quality but didn't hit at the right time. No one heard it. and it could be by an unknown band, but you still would say it's hit quality, right? If Hey Jude by the Beatles was released by an unknown band and it never became successful, it would still be hit quality, though it still would not have culturally became a hit. In terms of quality, it still would be. So when we're looking at this, you can see an example of someone who has mostly garbage, but a few hits is David Bowie. David Bowie has a lot of hits, but relative to the rest of his catalog, it's a very small amount. Someone like Led Zeppelin or Nine Inch Nails has an even amount of slop with a lot of good stuff and a lot of hits. They're very prominent, but they're not one-sided. Now, you could say someone like the Beatles has mostly hits and then a lot of good B-sides and pretty much no duds. People would say that about probably Daft Punk, Rage Against the Machine, Metallica. Those are popular bands that people say pretty unanimously have a good catalog. Here is someone like Weezer or Queen, in my opinion. You can disagree. It's hits and duds and pretty much nothing else. Weezer has a lot of really, really good songs and a lot of really, really bad songs. They don't have a lot of okay songs. They mostly have stuff that I really like or really dislike. Now, this is a band like Motorhead or Slayer or Frank Zappa. A lot of metal bands end up here. They have a lot of good stuff for fans where it's medium catchiness, where the average listener would call it slop, right? It wouldn't hit really. The 7 line might be about here. So most of this is 4 to 5 to 6 in terms of catchiness. But the fans are going to enjoy it, even though it's not going to go into the hit category for most things. There's one-off hits right here, Raining Blood, Ace of Spades. So now, where do Caje la Elefante rank in here, right? So Cage the Elephant, I would say first album is total gold. It's in the hit zone, if not a couple B-sides. Second record, maybe a little more half and half on B-sides and hits a lot of the songs in terms of quality. Then you look at Melophobia. Come a little closer, then you see, come on. Inside my telescope, I see a far and distant galaxy. And it looks like me. It looks like me. But I don't understand. Nowhere left to run. Balls keep fading. Time is like a leaf in the wind. Either it's time well spent or it's time well wasted. Don't waste it. So I put that in the hit zone. So right so far, you got like 2 hit to 1 B-side. It's a really good ratio. Then you get Tell Me I'm Pretty. I think it's a little more 50-50. Still the hits. I'm going to give it a 3-2 on hit to B-side ratio so far. So those are really more hits than B-sides. Then you get, Social Cues, or is there another one before it? But in general, I think you're to find Cage the Elephant to have more of a classic catalog. For some people, they might call it a little bit more of a 50-50, but it's something that's either straight up or it's a little bit tilted down. There might be a little bit of some duds and B-sides off of Neon Pale and Social Cue. Social Cues was very, for me, it was very even. It was like this. There was some good stuff. There's a lot of stuff where I was like, I'm going to skip it. And there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, this is fine. If I'm in a good mood for it, I like it. So Social Cues is like that. I'm assuming Neon Pill is like that, or it might be like this. And most of the catalog is like this. So it's something along here. I think it's mostly going to look like this, maybe a little bit like this. So that's that part. That's how much of it's slop. So depending on you might say, I think Motorhead is better than David Bowie because Motorhead on average has more, listenable music and less slop relative, even though David Bowie has more hits overall, right? David Bowie's hits are more numerous and better than Motorhead, but David Bowie has way more slop output. So how much do you penalize and downrank for slop? Now here we're looking at, when you're ranking on different skills, are they talented? It's kind of a separate conversation that people throw in when they say a band is good, bad, slop, not, right, rock, metal, bad, whatever. So here we're going to look, what's the historical impact of Cage the Elephant? Pretty good. Modern impact, I would probably swap that. They're probably medium impact when they came out, pretty good. Aesthetics are okay. I'm not going to give them a super big. They don't have the strongest brand. Like if you think someone like Queen has a more defined aesthetic, right? Now look at stage design. Who's stage design? I can't really think. They do have an interesting thing, though, with them all walking around and moving. I got to say, I'm going to give them on vibe and skill. They're either green or yellow, but I'm going to round it up to a green. So overall, they get green. They're pretty good. Now, if we look at their overall brand, I got to say they're probably a yellow. They don't have consistent themes. The album art's good. The merch is, I don't even know. I like Cage the Elephant. I haven't found any merch I like. I haven't looked too hard, but also I'm the person who could sell on it. So I'm going to give them a yellow in terms of brand. The brand is good because they have impact and they have big songs, but they don't actually have a solid brand. Like Queen, you could buy a Queen t-shirt. They don't have Cage the Elephant t-shirts at the store. Friggin' Walmart. No, so here, this I'm going to give them a green. They're really good. They really know how to put things together. House is Glass has good solo in it. There's lots of good stuff, especially on the early records. You can really hear the breadth of these people over these records. And then when it comes to songwriting, 10 out of 10, live shows, they were really good. They really put on a good show. They weren't lackluster. Lyrics, those hit. Chords, melodies, riffs, tones, solos. Solos are getting a yellow, but it's not worth it because they have a green. So overall, I'm going to say they have green, green, yellow. That means when we're looking at the controversy and how talented they are, they're clearly talented in terms of, I'm going to write this down because now we're getting ready for the big finale. I'm going to write down KG Elephant are, and here you're going to see I've written down my top 10 songs, because what most people do, they don't compare, like we said with David Bowie and Motorhead, they don't compare the top songs, they don't compare the whole catalog. They tend to think about the top 10 songs that they know, the songs that they think are the best 10 for them. I go, these are my 10 favorite Bowie, and these are my 10 favorite Motorhead. Now, how do those rank? Oh, am I getting a little echo? I might be getting a little echo, but it's okay because we're going to keep on moving, grooving, clicking, and ticking. It's going to be all good. Okay, so here's what happens. So I'm going to say for musicianship, they get a check mark. For song, they get a check mark. Their catalog, I was saying, looks mostly like an upward line. And I think because they're good in things and they're okay in some other, people aren't really going to debate that they're talented. They're going to say, yeah, they're pretty talented, even if it's not my cup of joe. So where does that leave us? That leaves us finally with the verdict. When we look at Connor O'Farrell's, and you may disagree, when we look at my top 10 songs and we look at the catchiness and the energy, we see what is the energy level, probably going to be around here, punk and or indie. And then we look at the catchiness, we're going to see, are they in fact slop or not? And we're going to see that. Do they pass the slop line? Let's take a look. So drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, 10 on catchiness, 7 on energy. Back Against the Wall, 9 on catchiness, 8 on energy. Come a little closer, then you see 9 on catchiness, 5 on energy. And then Cigarette Dangerous, 10 on catchiness, 4 on energy. Trouble on my left, Trouble on my right, 9 on catchiness. Cold, go, 9. Aberdeen, 9. Shake Me Down, 10 on catchiness, really good. In One Ear, 9. Judas, an 8. And overall, you're going to see the average catchiness. Let's start with energy. Average energy, 6.1. So like I said, a little bit of indie punk. I picked the songs that are higher energy because to me, those are the better ones. But for you, it might be down here at a 4. So anything from probably a 6 to a 4 over here on the energy scale. And then we're going to move over to, where does it say? It says a 9.2 on energy. Also, this was the catalog distribution. Shotted that down for you. Low controversy. Average 9.2, so we're at a 6.1 on energy. We're in this zone, maybe down to a 4, depending on your songs. And then we're going to come all the way over to a 9.2. So we're going to see, for some of you, you might have KG Elephant down as a pop band. That works for you. For some people, you're going to have them down as a rock band, but pretty much none of you, if you're going off the top 10 songs, are going to call them pop indie slop. So that's it. If there's another band you want to see, go check it out. Next video, I think I'm doing Weezer. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Appreciate you coming here, slop or not. And like, comment, subscribe. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. And have a great time.